Welcome back to the TwinSpires Jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades of the week at fairgrounds, Turfway Park, and more. And Darin, we'll let you start things off on our Christmas edition of the TwinSpires Jury. What is your best bet of the week and where are you going to play that?
I'm going to go to my favorite track of the winter, Turfway Park. They got a nice card coming up on Saturday. It includes a stakes race, but I'm going to look elsewhere. In race number 5, they like to card these mile-and-a-quarter races at various different classes, and I actually get quite a kick out of them. It's a non-winners of two other than. One of the outside runners, number 10, Avenue, is making his third start back off the layoff for trainer Mike McCarthy, who I have the utmost respect for. This horse was grade 2 placed, beaten 3/4 of a length behind Prince Obama and the Gray Wizard in the Hollywood Turf Cup just about a year ago. Was a fast closing third in a good allowance group after that. Then something went amiss in the grade 3 San Marcos that led to about a 9-month layoff where this horse went to the sidelines out in California. He's come back to the workout trail beginning early on in the summer. He was only off of the workout trail for really about a month or so, and he kept kind of working. Gave the horse some time. Came back in a nice little prep race at Santa Anita, went up to Golden Gate, finished well there, going a mile and a 16th, and now stretching out to a mile and a quarter, which I have no issue with because this horse has been beaten a half length and 3/4 of a length, going a mile and a half in some tough turf company over in California. He's got a good race with a competitive figure over the synthetic surface. I respect McCarthy whenever he ships a horse here to Turfway. So I'm going to try number 10 Avenue at a 5-1 morning line with the Axeman Juan Machado aboard, guys.
Yeah, I liked his late pace rating in his last race. I think stretching out here definitely bodes well. What about you, James?
I'm going to go for my best bet, number 8, Brigadier General in the Tenacious Stakes at Fairgrounds on Saturday. That's race number 11. Brigadier General is a horse I remember way back when he won. He broke his maiden. He was a big price on the morning line. He got bet way down. He narrowly won. I saw Dallas Stewart after the race, asked him about it, and he said he's trained like he's a really good horse. And he obviously didn't go on, I think, from that promise that day where really just a solid allowance type, tried him in a stake or two, Dallas Stewart has. But I think this 4-year-old gelding is finally finding his best form right now. He comes off 3 really solid allowance efforts, 2 at Horseshoe Indianapolis and 1 at Keeneland. And one thing I like about him is that he came back from a freshening last year to win an allowance race at Fairgrounds in his first start back in February. Same kind of scenario here. He's training real forwardly with half-mile bullet works down at the Fairgrounds. And I expect Brigadier General to get a favorable trip on the front end. There is some speed to his inside in 5-star General, but he's shown the ability 2 starts back to sit second, then offer his best run. And I look for him to keep moving forward in the Tenacious Stakes, Brigadier General for Dallas Stewart, Ashley.
Yeah, I thought that was a tough race. I looked at it. I thought Dash Attack caught my eye, but I was a little afraid to take a true stance here. But I like your reasoning there.
I think John Dooley's going to have a lot of fun calling this race with a pair of generals battling it out on the front. For much of it.
Well, I'm going to take it back over to Fairgrounds and talk the Gunrunner Stakes, which is a Kentucky Derby prep. And I know everyone's looking at number 6 Nash, the 7-5 morning line choice here, coming off a 10-length win at Churchill. But I'm going to look for a price here, and I'm going number 7 Snead at 6-1. There's a couple of reasons I like this horse. You know, it's a 2-year-old race, and I don't feel like anyone is totally proven here, even if they won by 10 lengths last out. With Snead, he's 2 for 2 since switching from turf to dirt. And last out, he won by more than 7 lengths and an allowance optional claimer at Fairgrounds at today's distance. The race rating from that event was a 113, which is the best any runner has faced in this field. He beat a stakes winner and a stakes place runner as well. He earned a 118 race rating, which is tied for Nash's last out race rating. And Nash faced a slightly weaker field in a maiden special weight. And I like the stats here on Brendan Walsh as well. 20% winner with the horse that won their last race. Jareth Loveberry is retaining the mount, winning at a high rate paired with Walsh over the last 2 months. And Snead is a late closer. I think we're going to get Track Phantom and Nash in an early speed duel. So I'm looking for the closer to come through. And at 6-1, I like that price.
I think that's really the key is that Track Phantom and what happens with Nash early. I'm definitely Track Phantom's going to show speed, whether or not he's quick enough to beat Nash to the lead, and whether Nash wants the lead is another thing. I don't know if he's that one-dimensional, But I could see your point because there is a solid amount of speed. I thought Catching Freedom, he had a troubled trip last time. If that race falls apart a little bit or Stalker Closer wins it, I could see your case for your runner. And there's a couple others in there, Catching Freedom, and even this neat switching turf to dirt in the gun runner, Darin.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to see Cox also enter Catching Freedom in here. I didn't think his last race in over at Churchill Downs was bad. He got in some traffic trouble, like you mentioned. And I thought that Cox probably would have kept these two horses apart, at least early on in the season, maybe send this horse to a race like the Smarty Jones at Oaklawn or something to that effect. But nonetheless, they show up here. And yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of that runner. And actually, to your point, it seems like every time we run one of these prep races early on in the season, there's a now horse until there's a new now horse. So the now horse right now is Nash, but if somebody jumps up, runs a hole in the wind here, we'll be talking about somebody else. So I certainly do respect taking a stand against him here.
All right, let's talk about the horses. We're going to fade at a short price. James, who do you have?
I'm fading number 3, Private Creed, in the Richard Scherer Memorial Stakes at Fairgrounds on Saturday. That's the 8th race. Private Creed, I know this colt pretty well. He basically lost 6 straight races before breaking through in the Franklin Simpson last time. Look, I wasn't a big fan of that Franklin Simpson field. I don't think that's the best race. I don't think it's one of the top 5 races year in and year out at Kentucky Downs. I don't think this year will be any exception. I was stunned when it was made grade 1 because, like I said, the runner-up in that race came back and got drilled. I thought that horse had been well handled by Wesley Ward Playlist, but I think he's exposed at the stakes level. The 3rd place finisher has never won on turf from that Franklin Simpson. So I look at Private Creed, where he had an easy trip that day. He came back last time. He beat a really soft allowance field. That race rating for that allowance race at Churchill was 114, which is sort of on the level with claiming races, $25,000, $30,000 claimers. And just had everything his own way once he struck the front by the top of the stretch. This Scherer Memorial came up with like a bunch of speed in it. I think there's some much tougher competition. I like number 10, Evan Singh, for Al Stahl. He's a stakes winner at Fairgrounds. I think he's going to run a big race. And I'm going to play against Private Creed, Darin, in the Scherer Memorial at Fairgrounds on Saturday.
Yeah, I like it. And we could have an entire video session about some of the decisions the Graded Stakes Committee made this year, but we'll save that for another time. I'm also looking at the Fairgrounds for my fade. It's going to come in the Buddy DiLiberto Memorial Stakes, which is race number 10. Maybe this is low-hanging fruit, but number 12, 2 Emmys off the layoff is, of course, I'm going to try to beat here, guys. I know he's run well at the Fairgrounds. He's 4 for 11 with 8 exacta placings. But this horse is kind of an all-or-nothing type. Need the lead type, never know when he's going to exactly show up with his best. And technically, is he supposed to be better than this field? I suppose. But he's coming off a 10-month layoff here at age 7. And I don't think they wanted to take the entire season off with this horse. So obviously, there was a reason for that. He had a couple of workouts in March, went to the sidelines, came back in May, went back to the sidelines, came back then in September. So obviously, there's a reason why this horse was out for the last 9 or 10 months. I'm going to try to pick him off in this first start back as the morning line favorite. And I like a horse named Beatbox in the race, who's making his 3rd race back off the layoff, who came back with a really solid 3rd place finish, 2 starts back, where he dead heated with the next out winner. Then went to the Fairgrounds and was a solid 2nd in a slow pace event last time out behind Rising Empire, who he squares off with again here. I've always been a fan of this horse. He was actually trained by Chad Brown as a 2- and 3-year-old. Bill Morey picked him up at the sale. He won 3 straight races at Turfway, and it looks like he's starting to get back to his best. So I think 2 Emmys is a horse we can beat. I'm going to try to beat him with Beatbox, Ashley.
Yeah, I agree with you. And 2 Emmys is also 1 for 5 at the distance of 1 1/16 of a mile. I think usually does a little bit better when it's a little bit longer. So I agree with you on that fade as well. Now I'm going to go back to Fairgrounds and talk about the Sugar Bowl Stakes at 6 furlongs. And I'm going to fade number 3, Agu, at 7 to 5 on the morning line. This is a small field of 6, and Agu's price I just think is too short here. The money's called is 1 for 3 lifetime, and his lone win came at 6.5 furlongs. I felt like he needed that extra distance to get up to win. And so cutting back here, I'm not going to back him at that short price. Whit Beckman, he's up and coming, certainly had that big win with Honor Marie in a Kentucky Derby prep, but don't like his 2-year-old here. And I think if you're going to go for the short priced horse, I would go with number 4, Legalize at 8-5. This is a Constitution colt coming off a sharp win at Churchill in a 7-furlong race. He won gate to wire. And Sherry DeVoe is a 25% winner at Fairgrounds. Brian Hernandez is winning at a 26% clip. So if I'm going to go a short price, Legalize is my pick. I don't think a Goo is proven at this distance.
I can say it. I like Legalize. That was that Stars of Tomorrow 2 program that Anna Marie won the Kentucky Jockey Club on, and he definitely looked good at second asking that day.
All right, before we move on to what else we're watching, Darin, what promos do we have at TwinSpires?
Yeah, special one coming out this weekend for the card at the Fairgrounds, which features the Gunrunner Stakes. We're going to offer up a 15% profit boost on the entire Fairgrounds card featuring the Gunrunner. You can earn 15% on your win, exacta, trifecta, and superfecta wagers in all races at the Fairgrounds on Saturday, December the 23rd. So be sure to be opted in to that 15% profit boost and earn a little bit extra on top of your winnings. Fridays in December, we have the Fairgrounds $2,500 hit it and split it on their late pick 5. So if you can be opted into that and hit that late pick 5, you will share in that $2,500. And Saturdays in December, $10 money back, Turfway Park. If your horse runs second in all eligible races, which means you need to have, I believe, at least five horses in the race, and your horse runs second, you're eligible to get your win bet back up to $10. Great promos. Be sure to be opted in. We're going to close out the year strong with some good promotions here at TwinSpires.
All right, and Darin, we'll stick with you. Tell us what else you're watching for this weekend.
Yeah, it's actually right after the weekend. Opening day at Santa Anita. It's the traditional spot the day after Christmas, which just so happens to fall on a Tuesday this year. I always enjoy it. You get some of those leftovers. You could sit back, relax, put your feet up, and watch some really good racing at Santa Anita while enjoying some turkey, or in my case, probably a lot of pasta from the day before. But yeah, they have some great racing, 6 graded stakes races, 3 of them grade 1s, including the Malibu, the American Oaks, the La Brea. There's some really good horses scheduled to be on the card. National Treasure is going to be in there. Anazette is likely to be in the American Oaks, a horse that I'm a fan of as well. So the card's not drawn yet. It won't be out till Friday. But just a reminder that just because it's a Tuesday doesn't mean that they're going to be light on action, because that day after Christmas, you always have one of the best cards of the year at Santa Anita featuring 3 grade 1s. So I always look forward to that. It's a fun day of racing, guys.
Yeah, I wish I'd already drawn that. I look forward to that opening day program too. I thought National Treasure ran a huge race in the dirt mile. Arguably, I know he won the Preakness. I thought that was his best race by far. Right. I thought it bodes well for his 4-year-old season. So I'm excited to see him in the Malibu. For my what else, I'm going to go to Gulfstream Park. They got 4 stakes on Saturday. One of them is the Tropical Park Derby for 3-year-olds at 1.16 miles on turf. And that's going to mark the second turf stake start for number 9, Ohana Honor. This is a Honor Code colt trained by Shug McGahee. You know, Ashley had mentioned Honor Code earlier, you know, with Honor Marie, at least, with his son. Honor Code, he championed Older Horse 2015. He had Honor AP and Grade 1 winner Max Player from his first crop in 2017, 2019. They were racing. And hasn't had many notable performers since, but looks like he might be coming on with a couple of nice runners. Honor Marie is going to point for the Risen Star in February. He's a Kentucky Derby contender. And Ohana Honor, this is a colt needed 7 races to break his maiden, broke through in August at Colonial Downs. I loved his turf allowance win 2 starts back in that Giopani last time. It was a short field. The turf was listed as firm, but it was all choppy and torn up. And Northern Invader was clear on the back stretch. Good looking colt for Cherie DeVoe. So I thought Ohana Honor finished well for second. I expect him to keep moving forward. He's got a good rival in there, Anglophile, who beat Farbridge in the Dueling Grounds Derbies in there. But I think Ohana Honor could be a good turf stakes horse moving forward for Shug McGahee, and we'll see how he does in the Tropical Park Derby, Ashley.
Thinking about when I was a track announcer, saying Ohana Honor over and over again in a race definitely could be a little bit problematic.
Yeah, I think we'll get some better weather at Gulfstream this weekend too. I mentioned,
can't get worse.
Yeah, I mentioned the Alan Jerkins, and then that didn't even happen. It ended up being that crazy monsoon. Well, it wasn't technically a monsoon. I shouldn't categorize it. I'm not a meteorologist, but
it's actually back on the extras of the condition sheet. I think they might want to try to race it again on the next day available. So if you had a horse in that race, keep
it's
an eye out.
Sunday. It's Sunday, Darin.
Sunday. Yeah, there
Yeah,
you
they're
go.
going to
Yeah.
run it Sunday, it turns
Yeah.
out. Yeah, they brought it back a week later.
Well, I'm going to mention the other prep race we have at Fairgrounds, which is for the Kentucky Oaks. It's the Untappable Stakes, and Brad Cox is well represented in both the Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby preps this weekend. I already mentioned that he has Nash and, Catching Freedom in the Kentucky Derby prep, but over in the Untappable, he has the morning line favorite in the Coast second choice from a small field of 6. And the Oaks prep will award points on a 10-5-3-2-1 basis. So only one horse is not going to come away with points in this race. But West Omaha is the 5-2 morning line choice here, a 4-length winner when breaking her maiden in her second start, but she hasn't run a route race yet. Her sire, West Coast, is also the sire of West Sunset, who's trained by Brad Cox and won the Rags to Riches, so already on the Oaks leaderboard. And then the co-second choice on the morning line is number 1, Alpine Princess at 3-1, who I like a little bit better out of Brad Cox's barn. 2 for 4 and just 1 in allowance taken off the turf at today's distance, has Florent Giroux aboard, and probably going to have, I think Brad Cox will have one winner out of the weekend in one of these prep races, but I'm hoping it's not Nash. I'm hoping it's going to be Snead. So we'll see what happens.
There's definitely a chance of it. I saw where you were going to mention that Brad Cox. I took a look at his stats. He's 5 for 15 at Fairgrounds, 3 for 9 at Turfway, just 33% win clips. And at Oaklawn Park, not quite that high, but 3 for 13 is definitely very respectable. So his horses are running everywhere, Darin.
No, they certainly are. I will always give caution. Watch out for Ken McPeak with young 2-year-old fillies. He's got a history of showing up with them in these spots. I know Band of Gold, the figure's not quite there. He's got a filly by Preservationist who right now looks like a stallion that a lot of people are high on off of the first crop. I'm hearing a lot of good things about Preservationist, and lo and behold, McPeak shows up in a spot like this with a Preservationist filly. Band of Gold is one that I'm going to be curious to see what this horse does going forward.
We'll see what happens. And Darin, it sounds like you're going to be eating an Italian Christmas dinner on Monday.
Yeah, we do it right. You do the fish thing and the antipasto thing on Christmas Eve, and then you get to Christmas Day and you flip the script and you do pastas and meats. So you pretty much basically gain about 17 pounds in a 2-day period, which really sets you up well for that, New Year's, I'm going back to the gym thing.
Right. What about you, James? Any pasta, or are you going?
Yeah, it's my mom's Italian, so we do shrimp Creole every year on Christmas Eve, and then we'll have turkey and ham on Monday on Christmas Day. I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, best of holidays.
All right. Yeah, I feel like my family needs to up their game because we don't have any cool dishes like that for Christmas. Maybe I'll introduce it next year. Well, anyway, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires Jury. Happy holidays from TwinSpires, and we'll be back next week with more best bets and fades to close out the year.